Hello, I'm Jack from TheJackSmit.com and welcome to the 2024 Lytham International Film Festival. For a second year running, we are here covering one of the North's biggest growing film festivals, and this year it's even bigger and better. Over a very windy bank holiday weekend in August, film fans gathered in the LYIFF Pavilion and its events tent to take in the best in global and northern cinema. And here is a little taster of what was screened that weekend. Well, 3 days, 105 films and 15 world premieres later, and we have one hell of a festival to look back on. A very windy one because of Storm Lillian, but a strong one either way. Unlike Cannes or London, Lytham International isn't just about promoting films, it's about sharing the stories with the filmmakers. We've got workshops, good Q&A sessions, and a proper community vibe really driving home what this festival is all about. Now sadly, because of the storm and the associated disruption to rail transport, 2 hours to do a 40-minute journey to and from Lytham, God almighty. I couldn't get round to everything across the weekend, only about a quarter of what was on the selection. But I've read up on most of the entries, and in some very fortunate cases, we've been able to see the screeners for a lot of the short films. Now we're going to begin our look back at the festival with the features. The opening feature of the festival, like last year, was a harrowing watch. Beyond the Beach is a documentary about the non-government organisation Emergency and the work they do. Having filmed in 2019, COVID has prevented the film from hitting major events. Festivals like Lytham have come in very handy to help promote the cause of what, for Graham and Buddy, the directors, is a very important film for them to have made. Nomad X, the duo behind the end credits track on Beyond the Beach, did a post-film Q&A afterwards. From what I understand, there was quite a lot left on the cutting room floor for very understandable reasons, because it was too graphic, and that's also the reason why we've chosen only to show you stuff that's in the trailer for the film. This one's available on Amazon Prime if you do want to go and watch this powerful documentary, and fair warning, this is not an easy film to sit through, but one with an incredibly important message.
If you want to understand war, it's very simple. You take a picture of a child, the victim of war, cut away the head and put the one of your son. Then you understand what's a war.
The Friday mid-afternoon feature was Nicholas Steele's The Way to Happiness, and it was on the main screen. Now we've done a full write-up of this one over on TheJackSmit.com, so we're not going to dwell on it too much. It was a relatively decent film that has a few issues in terms of its general style, but it was one that really showcased the importance that cinema has in changing lives. And on the Saturday, we had screenings of German comedy drama Once and For Real, Holger Balgraf's film which tells the story of a 19-year-old trying to find love after making a promise at the graveside of his best friend, a best friend who ultimately accompanies him on the journey in ghost form. It is kind of like A Christmas Carol, but with less ghosts, more interpersonal relationships, and crucially, only coming in at 1 hour 40 minutes. Now, the thing that I adore about Lytham International is the short films, and there were plenty of them to enjoy over the 3 days. On the Friday, we had a very thoughtful selection throughout both sessions, from wildlife photographers doing what they do best in Sunflower Secret Life of the Possum Wasps. Gotta say, word to the BBC Natural History Unit, you might want to hire Roman Willie, he is that good at it. Adam McKay executive produced natural history fantasy Wild Summon, comedic veganism in Simon Diamond's Lord of the Free Range, to worlds where mannequins are mates in Keaton B. McDee's Akin, the impact of COVID being explored in a clever way with Diego Contreras' short film The Last Embrace, the return of Lytham's international winner for screenplay last year, Toby Andrus, with another film shot in Georgia, this time about the sanitariums of Salkatabo, and a comedy made in less than 48 hours delivered with Ed Willie directed short Simon. A lot of these are available to watch online, and we've got a little playlist in the description of this journal that allows you to watch 9 of the short films from across the Lytham selection right here on YouTube, because we love being able to bring cinema closer. It's at this point that I do have to mention one short film in particular, partly because of what I get up to 14 weekends a year outside of cinemas. If you know, you know. The Secret Life of Tom Lightfoot was a well thought out fantasy short made by Shropshire-based group Arsey Parsey as part of a trilogy of short films. Now, this trilogy of short films were inspired by short stories written by New York Times award-winning novelist Jeff Vanderveer. And if you're wondering if that name sounds familiar, this is the man who wrote the book that Alex Garland would turn into Netflix film Annihilation back in 2018. With a mostly Down syndrome catch, which very cleverly doesn't make a big deal of it to let the story of Tom and his very bird heart take centre stage, my first thought after I seen it was to let an old mate of mine know about this project, as it's right up the street of one Vicky Irwin, who in a matter of days will become the CEO of local charity Down Syndrome Cheshire. Oh, how we're going to miss her at Sharks. Surrealism was also quite a prominent theme throughout the short selection of the weekend, with Goran Sporchic's short film Sound 7406, made on his own as an amateur filmmaker, playing on a Friday night, and it got quite a divisive reception amongst some of the audience. It's a very personal short film for him, but it kind of explores his head a little bit. Not as weird as a television broadcast from an alternate Earth. I mean, that one had fun with the idea of archival TV footage on the Saturday afternoon. You could also argue that one of the world premieres from the festival this year, Toxic Positivity, fit into this mould because of how it does its so-called tale of technicoloured depression. I am gutted I wasn't able to be on site for the premiere of that one because of the trains, because it looks like a very bold piece of filmmaking. The most out there of the shorts that I got to see was Jeffrey Delano Davis's Digital Automatic Writing. It is a series of what's effectively animated TikTok reels, and per his own explanation, and I'm going to have to read from the spiel here, it is spontaneous micro-journaling that utilises aspects of drawing, sketching, painting and video. The writing is created in a layered format, often using the software Procreate and a stylus, with the final product rendered as a time-lapse video highlighting the writer's consciousness tree. Now, when he was making the first Digital Automatic Writing, Jeffrey was dealing with some very heavy personal news about a friend of his, and that one's available on YouTube. You're probably seeing the footage of this right now as I talk about it. It's very one of a kind and importantly human-generated animation. There's no AI, there's no gimmicks, there's no BS. Just a raw look into the human soul, and one of the most experimental shorts I've had the joy of watching on a cinema screen. It didn't land well with everyone, but I can understand the logic behind what is a very unique form of bearing your soul on the biggest stage possible. Now, from the ones I was on site for, the film which really stood out to me in terms of its sheer aim was Bonnie Chip, a film made on the other side of the northeast, in a real chip shop. We had the joy of chatting to the writer, star and composer of the film, Rosie Fox, about it on the night at the Q&A, and this one is a musical, but it didn't actually start out as a musical. After 3 drafts, the story of the single mum rediscovering life and saving the chippy where she's just got a job from being bought by a property developer became a comedy drama musical hybrid. Speaking to Rosie post-film, there's a lot of promising talent up in the northeast that are waiting for their big break, and I hope to God that the BFI start upping their game in terms of getting grants to those who need it most, especially those outside of London. As a wise man once said to me, in TV there's a lot of ego, in film we're a real family who look out for each other. As the nights drew in, the tastiest bits of the festival began. On the Friday evening, as Indian transgender drama Blue Sunshine played the main screen as a feature, the horror and the saucier films came out to play. Traditionally, we don't cover horror here on TheJackSmit.com, but there's a few notable exceptions to this rule that we are going to tell you all about. The post-Watershed slot belonged to Lytham After Dark and Director's Notes, home of the edgier, darker content worthy of the 18 certificate and screened within the tent, in the dark, with wireless headphones acting as your own personal 5.1 surround sound rig. The selections this year, well, what I got to see before running for a very delayed train back to Leyland were of an incredibly high standard. Opening the session created by our old mates at production house Beyond the Bar was Johnny Herbin's Efford Cakes, a very Don't Hug Me I'm Scared inspired piece which tells the story of a grieving woman following a singing cake, yes, a singing cake, this is after dark, into a magical world inside her oven. It's a musical, it's horror, it's comedy, and it's over and done within 2 minutes. At his workshop on day one, the festival's director Ed Greenberg advised the inspiring filmmakers in that workshop to stay back and watch this short, and I am glad he said that to them. It's proof that you don't need to go long on a film to really get the point across. It's well animated, it's well thought out, it's well written, and just 48 hours after playing the festival, it played Fright Fest. It's that good. Johnny was actually sat next to me as the short played out, and I know he was very happy with how it went down on the night. It is a film that truly has to be seen to be believed. I didn't get to see any of the films on Friday, sadly, but on the Saturday, while the main screen was handling the screening of Darius Brubeck documentary Playing the Changes, over in the tent, Director's Notes took over the tent. They are one of the biggest platforms online for indie filmmakers to not only showcase their work but also tell the behind the scenes stories of their films. Last year, this was the strand that gave us a film that we joke about quite a lot internally here at TheJackSmit.com, The Flute. All of these short films that we're about to talk about are available over on directorsnotes.com, and this year they asked Lytham audiences to embrace the macabre. Shelf Life got us going with a bold look at the idea of the parasocial relationship, as its main character becomes a little bit too attached to her delivery driver. Your Houseplants Are Screaming was an impressive feat for a 2-person production, channeling their inner metropolis and blending it with visuals clearly inspired by Terry Gilliam's work to remind you to water the damn plants. Pretty Pickle was a dark film in terms of what it was dealing with, but does have a visual look that's pretty bold, namely how they made iPhone graphics look good in black and white. Rhyme or Die is effectively what Mr. Beast's content would look like on this platform if he runs out of ideas. That's probably the most down with the kids I'm ever going to sound. As the short does exactly what it says on the tin. It reminded me a lot of one of last year's shorts, Heart Failure, which was a really well thought out piece of filmmaking. It has a musical at its core, but a very unique plot and premise behind it. A Bloody Mess became one of the most meta films I've seen and deserves to be enjoyed without any spoilers whatsoever. Soggy Biscuit, well, we can't show any of it on here. The name says it all, but for a female director to make that film and deliver the message about masculinity that she does, well done. Jimmy Bowden was a really funny film that answered the question of exactly how they came up with the suggested serving size number on foods. Click Click Boom is effectively Sorry to Bother You, but in reverse, dealing with some heavy themes and then hitting viewers with a hell of a twist at the end. And then there's Killing Boris Johnson. Yeah. That's a film that got selected, and quite rightly selected as well. It played at Cannes for its quality and made by a graduate of the National Film and Television School. It is a very politically driven short that kind of deals with the fallout and is the first, really, film to deal with the impact of Partygate. If you don't live in England and don't know about Partygate, we covered it a lot in 2021. You can watch it over on TheJackSmit.com. Having a National Film and Television School involved in that film gave them a lot of input to get proper archive footage of Boris, and I'm surprised that it was screened as scheduled given the events we've been through in England over the last 2 weeks. But it was a very well thought out short, a very well made short, and one which I would imagine got a lot of people talking afterwards, which is kind of the point of these film festivals. At its core though, this year Lytham championed a lot of regional talent, with an enhanced session sponsored by the lovely folks at Chris Allen Mazda. Filmmakers local to the area got to screen their works on the biggest stage, with local stories like Opal of the West covering the diverse range of the population of popular seaside resort Blackpool, to 15-year-old Chinad Knoll being able to show his debut short The Files to a local venue as his world premiere. But closing that session was Catherine Georgiou's very personal directorial debut. Having starred in Friday After Dark short The Heritage, on the Saturday she screened Changing Tides, inspired by true events in a venue close to home, to an audience who responded incredibly well to it. I got to talk to Catherine on the Friday between the short film sessions, and knowing it's about a carer forming an unlikely bond with an end-of-life alcoholic and very much inspired by her experiences with her late dad, this could really raise some awareness within Blackpool Council over life expectancy when it comes to alcohol-related deaths. The average life expectancy, from what she told me, is 58. Her dad was 58 when he passed. This is a very personal film for her, and understandably. She also wins instantly a TheJackSmit.com award for the best way to promote a film that I've seen for a very long time. I mean, it's Blackpool, and nothing says Blackpool like a stick of Blackpool rock with the film's poster on it and a QR code that takes you to the page about the film on her production company's website. Catherine would actually go on to win Best First Time Director at the Festival Awards on the Sunday, and I actually wholeheartedly agree with the panel based on what I've seen from the film. It's a powerful short, and one that has a message that's uniquely Northwestern. To move a bit further out of Blackpool and into the wider Northwest, the fine folks at the BFI and Film Hub North provided a lot of films on the Saturday too, with my highlights from their strand including Liverpool Ferry, a very poignant piece about a journey many women from Belfast have had to make to circumvent the law over there, capped off with an incredible performance from Derry Girls star Saoirse Morica Jackson, as well as The Last Cowboy in Salford, purely because it's a modern cowboy film set in Salford and its very thriving Jewish community. The most unique plot I've seen for a film from Film Hub North for a while. Now, director Jacob Lancaster called this a Northwestern set in modern Manchester, and to shoot a film like this in and around Chinatown and to get a shootout in the Castlefield Bowl, well done to the team on that, because I know it's not easy to get the permits for a film like that. Now, as I film this on the bank holiday Monday after the festival, I don't know all of the winners yet. Every single selected film at Lytham gets a little contribution award, a little trophy if they're on site for the event, but they have proper festival awards, and we will likely, the minute we know who won what, we will put them in the description and in the pinned comment underneath this video. At this moment in time, we do know that Baby on Board won Best Screenplay. And from what I've seen of Baby on Board, Stephen Volk's work on this film, working with Andrew David Bark, who is a novelist in his own right and a director who gave the screenwriting workshop on the Saturday afternoon. This was a film quite rightly showcasing the festival's promotional material. Obviously gutted I couldn't be there for the screening, but based on the trailer and the information provided on Film Freeway, it looks like a really well thought out short film that's got a powerful emotive core to it. I know a lot of filmmakers watch our content here on the Journal, as well as curious cinema goers and, well, some of the Sharks lot who I've had the pleasure to get to know over the last 4 seasons. I literally hot-footed it from the club's media day to the festival, hence only a single day on site. But talking to bigwigs at the Lava Pavilion, talking to Ed, to Richard, to everyone involved in this festival. Lytham International is one that's going to go places over the next couple of years. Next year, if they are indeed sticking to the bank holiday, which will be the 22nd, 23rd and 24th of August, there's already some serious excitement about it. As all being well, the LYIFF Pavilion will have just opened their new education centre and studio, bringing potentially a third screen into the festival, with more opportunities for filmmakers to get their films seen on the biggest stage. If anything, being able to cover this festival the last 2 years has hammered home just how difficult it is to get films seen on the big screen. I've witnessed it not just at student level with the students I got to shadow a couple of years back at UCLan, not just with Granada Road, covering that over the last 8 years, seeing it go from crowdfunded short to being on Amazon Prime over the last 8 years. It is not an easy feat to get your film not only selected for a festival, but to get the recognition that it deserves. And right now, we're going to put on screen the roll call of all of the films that got selected for Lytham International this year, just to show how hard it is to not only get into a festival, but to get recognised by peers and get the industry bonds going. So having a platform like this here in the northwest of England, we've got places like Manchester International, which is great. We've got places like Southport Film Festival, which is great. But we need more northern voices coming through. I've witnessed this firsthand with professional sport, and I want to see the same come through into the film industry as well, into the creative industry. Roll on next year, roll on more independent cinematic goodness, because Hollywood, I've got to say, making top quality cinema isn't as hard as you think.